Is that like sweat on my butt?
That's Senator Ted Cruz, former Republican presidential aspirant turned key White House ally. Raphael Edward Cruz was born in 1970 in Canada, but he moved to Texas at an early age. Throughout his adolescence, he went by the nickname Felito. But it didn't last for long because he said it seemed to rhyme with every major corn chip on the market. Fritos, Cheetos, Doritos, and Tostitos, a fact that other young children were quite happy to point out. During this time, he aptly called his unpopular nerd phase, young Felito was trying so hard to desperately fit in. He ditched his glasses for contacts, took up sports, and even covered a rival school in toilet paper, leading to a car chase with janitors. But with time comes change, and boy did he get cool. Cruz attended 2 private high schools before graduating from Princeton in 1992. At Princeton, many of Cruz's peers used the word creepy to describe the one-day senator. He'd reportedly often sport a paisley bathrobe and walk through his dorm to where the female students lived. His roommate at the time recalls fielding frightening girls' complaints like, "Could you please keep your roommate out of the hallway?" Cruz left the girls' dormitory for Harvard Law, graduating in '95. Fresh out of law school, he took a position with private practice, Cooper, Carvin, and Rosenthal, where he helped prepare his boss's testimony before the House of Representatives in former President Bill Clinton's impeachment proceedings. In 1999, Cruz joined George W. Bush's presidential campaign as a domestic policy advisor. According to co-workers on the campaign, Cruz would send emails at all hours boasting about his most recent feats. Cruz claims his role was crucial in the famous Florida recount, the one where a guy who lost the popular vote ended up winning. But a few top Bush aides don't even remember Cruz having a role. Bush's campaign manager noted, "There are a lot of people who claim to be in Florida at the time of the recount." In 2003, Cruz became Solicitor General of Texas, a powerful legal position he held for 5 years, longer than anyone in state history. He turned what had been an under-the-radar apolitical office into an aggressively ideological one, fighting to display the 10 Commandments on state grounds and defending a law criminalizing the sale of dildos. To again quote Cruz's roommate, "Ted Cruz thinks people don't have a right to stimulate their genitals. I was his college roommate." This would be a new belief of his. By 2008, Cruz jumped back into private practice, joining Morgan, Lewis, and Bacchius, where he'd worked to help Big Pharma peddle drugs. He represented a pharmaceutical company that urged one of its employees to promote off-label use of the company's products, a practice that urges medical professionals to prescribe a drug in ways other than those approved by the FDA, just to sell more drugs. He lost, but that didn't hurt Cruz, who ran for Senate in Texas in 2012 and won 56% of the vote. Cruz and his wife, Heidi, who is still a high-level employee at Goldman Sachs, helped usher Ted's winning Senate campaign thanks to loans from Goldman Sachs and Citibank, both of which they failed to disclose in a campaign finance report, which is definitely illegal. The couple did disclose them on personal financial disclosure forms in the Senate, and they claim their failure to report the campaign loans was inadvertent. By 2013, with Cruz leading the effort to defund Obamacare, the government shut down. After the shutdown, many of Cruz's closest allies were very upset with how badly his strategy had failed. A former aide to Republican Senate leader Mitch McConnell said it was like a toddler's version of legislating. After 16 days and minor changes to Obamacare, the government was back open for business. That groundswell of respect and support would bring Cruz in 2015 to announce his presidential candidacy. In the midst of his run, Cruz was a key speaker at a religious liberty rally held by this guy.
Their sons are rebelling, hanging out with homosexuals and getting married, and the parents are invited. What would you do if that was the case? Here's what I would do. Sackcloth and ashes at the entrance to the church, and I'd sit in cow manure, and I'd spread it all over my body. That's what I would do.
Although Cruz faced less backlash for that than he did for allegedly eating a booger.
But with him, it's a big old juicy booger falls out of his nose, sits on his lip for a good 15 seconds, and then falls the bottom lip, and then like he's a reptoid or something, lizard, the tongue just lovingly, like this is actually probably how he eats. He's from another planet.
Cruz ended up suspending his campaign in May of 2016 after being bullied endlessly by Trump and a batch of others. To sum it up, here's a bunch of clips.
If you killed Ted Cruz on the floor of the Senate, and the trial was in the Senate, nobody can convict you.
And I'm beginning to understand why Ted Cruz has been hated by everyone, every place he's ever been.
I am not endorsing Ted Cruz. I hate Ted Cruz. And I think I'll take cyanide if he ever got the nomination. Now,
Lucifer in the flesh. I get along with almost everybody. But I've never worked with a more miserable son of a
I got along with everybody. You get along with nobody. You don't have one Republican. You don't have one Republican senator, and you work with them every day of your life, although you skipped a lot of time. These are minor details.
Trump even threatened to sue Cruz for not being a natural-born citizen and accused his father of being linked to the JFK assassination. Cruz's general vibe led to the internet accusing him of being the Zodiac Killer, an accusation still being investigated. It didn't stop there. At the Republican National Convention, Cruz took the stage for what many thought would be an endorsement of Trump.
If you love our country and love your children as much as I know that you do, stand and speak and vote your conscience. Vote for candidates up and down the ticket who you trust to defend our freedom.
The morning after, he defended his decision, saying, I am not in the habit of supporting people who attack my wife and attack my father. That pledge was not a blanket commitment that if you go and slander and attack Heidi, that I am going to nonetheless come like a servile puppy dog and say, thank you very much for maligning my wife and maligning my father. But just 2 months later,
Ted Cruz called. I was calling to encourage you to come out and vote on Election Day.
2020 could spell hope for a Senator Cruz who could be looking for revenge on the very man who mopped the floor with him throughout the entirety of the previous cycle. After all, he already made his plans very clear.
Take over the world domination, rule everything, rich, powerful, that sort of stuff.